Firstly, this attack or this war, which started this last Saturday, it is probably the biggest surprise that we have had since, I would say, since World War II.
Wow.
In World War II, we could not defend ourselves. What happened on Saturday was that thousands of Gaza terrorists came across the border and they overwhelmed 20 settlements. And these settlements really are not armed. In other words, they have arms, but the arms are in armories in each settlement. And you have to release the arms. And a number of things happened that our people in the kibbutzim, in the settlements, in the communities, were totally taken by surprise by these terrorists, and they were slaughtered by the terrorists. Even some people were decapitated. Little children were decapitated. Soldiers were decapitated. There were videos, authentic videos of all of this. They showed it to President Biden. They showed it to Secretary of State Blinken. And this is a horrible, barbaric behavior of Hamas, which is very much like ISIS. So if Americans understand ISIS, then they have to understand Hamas. So this is what we're facing. And so the decision has been taken. I don't know if they're going to carry it out all the way, but to take out Hamas, Gaza has a population of 2 million, but the Hamas is 50,000. And so, the people themselves, I think, are people like any other people, but you cannot rise up and have a normal government as long as these 50,000 Hamas terrorists are running the show. Anyone who protests gets killed immediately. It's really like Nazi Germany or Stalinist Russia. And so Israel, I think, is in a process now which the U.S. government actually understands and supports, that Hamas has to be taken out. Indeed, you know me since 1992. And so we go back 30 years. And one of the reasons I came to do shows with you 30 years ago was because I got fired at the Prime Minister's office under Yitzhak Shamir by socialist administrators. And Israel has been rock solid control of the socialists in the civil service. And when I was supposed to get tenure, they said to me, "Oh, you're never going to get tenure because you are Likud, you are right wing. And we are going to make sure to it that you never, ever again have a job in Israel." And so who took me in? You guys, the Christians took me in. So I've been speaking in Christian churches and doing TV with you and other ministries. And there is still to this day exists a socialist dictatorship in the civil service. And what happens is, you heard about the judicial reform bill of the Likud, which sparked tremendous protests in the streets of Tel Aviv and other places. And the problem here is, unlike America, in America, you have Supreme Court justices, which, it's usually 50-50. And each president who comes in brings in 2 or 3 of his own judges, and there's no problem. And it balances out. Here in Israel, all our judges are communists. All our judges are socialists. And there's absolutely no toleration for judges who are right-wing or conservative. And so this applies to the judiciary. This applies to the military. All the generals in the Israeli army are socialists. You cannot rise above colonel in the Israeli military if you are right-wing. And so all the people surrounding Netanyahu are socialists. Ehud Barak, who's calling openly for a civil war in Israel. Ehud Barak is saying there will be blood in the streets of Israel. There will be blood in the Yarkon River. He's calling for a civil war. He's calling for the killing of many, many Jewish people to fight against Netanyahu. Netanyahu represents the majority of the population. The problem here is, I've been in Israel 55 years. The problem is, over these 55 years, I personally have seen the growth of the religious section and the conservative section. And the socialists have one child and one dog just like Ataturk's Turkey had. And so the fundamentalist Muslims took over in Turkey. So here what's happening is that the religious and the nationalists are overwhelmingly the majority now.
Wow.
But the socialists still control all of the main positions. Saturday was exactly the same thing. The same communist, socialist, totalitarians with no toleration for any other viewpoints with their concepts. They said the same thing about the Gaza Arabs. And the crazy thing here is, number one, the Egyptians warned certain people in the military, and it seems like the message did not get passed down, or passed up to the high command. Or it could be that there are people at the top in the military who knew about it. They wanted it to happen so that Netayahu would be blamed for it, and that would mean Netayahu would have to resign, or there will be a civil war in this country and they'll kill him. So I'm very, very concerned about where this country is going. We are in a terrible situation now internally in this country. As far as the army goes, our soldiers are the best. And as long as you're talking about combat commanders, they're the best. So the problem is not the combat commanders or the soldiers. The problem is the generals who all have to go through the filter of the socialist hierarchy. I think in America you'd call it the deep state.